Hey guys, and welcome back. Welcome to part two of how to SEO your WordPress website. In part one, what we dealt with was very much about really getting the basics in place and how to get a baseline for how your website is currently performing or how it's performing. Say, for instance, you're about to launch your website. Once it's launched, you can get that baseline in place and figure out what you need to do to improve and refine the processes and the kind of presence of certain technologies and things within your website. So hopefully that was of help. It gives you that baseline. The baseline is really important, as I said before, because it gives you something to always refer back to. You can see how far you've come or the things you now need to attend to, and you can start, in addition to an analytics package, you can start to develop a better sense of where your website is and where it can go and how to get you there. So that was a really important foundational piece, and if you haven't seen that, make sure you go back and watch part one. In part two, I want to deal with more of the theory behind search engine optimization, the things that you need to know. There's a lot of fluff out there and a lot of things that people try and blind you with. SEO consultants try and make it really complex and this kind of weird grey area that only they seem to know about, and that's just not true. A lot of it is just common sense, and that's what I really want to delve into in this lesson, is getting to grips with the important things about SEO, the things you need to know and the things that you can put in place, and then how you can go about doing that and putting them in place. So this lesson is largely about content and keywords. So to start, what I would like you to think about is, what does Google care about? When they come to view your website and to scan it and to pick up on all the relevant things within your website, what do they actually care about? What do they want to see out of your website, and how can you make sure you're kind of ticking all the boxes for them, but also make sure that you're perhaps edging out competitors and how to compete in that realm. And the first thing on the list that we have here is relevance and security. If you think about it as a user of Google, or any search engine for that matter, when you go into Google, what do you want to see when you type in a search term? Well, what you want to see is the most relevant, specific and helpful results in terms of websites that you can click into as possible. So if I go into Google and I search for instance, last lesson we did best SEO companies, what I want to see are literally the list of the best SEO companies as Google ranks them. And Google knows that that's what I want to see. And you got to remember that Google's business, as with most businesses, Google's business is based on trust. When you go into Google, the reason you keep doing it over and over and over again, the reason that to Google something has actually become a term of phrase in the English language, is very much based on trust. The fact that you trust them to give you the right results at any given time, no matter where your location, no matter what your circumstance. If you go into your phone, for instance, and you search for something, you want the most specific and relevant results that you've searched for. Now, Google knows that, and what they've been doing over the last, I guess, 17, 18 years is basically refining the algorithm processes by which they can rank those results. It used to be 10 years ago that you would notice, you click into a website, and down at the bottom of a website, they're all just like a list of keywords you would notice, and that was called keyword stuffing. And that's because at that time, Google and other search engines were not sophisticated enough in their algorithms to basically recognize that and to see that actually this website is now stuffing keywords into the base of their website simply to get traffic to the site. It has nothing to do with those keywords. It's not relevant. It doesn't give good content. It doesn't offer engaging content. That's kind of where Google started to become wise to that process, and that's why a lot of their business is based upon trust, the trust between Google and their usership, security, the fact that you feel a sense of trust again, that when you click into a link that's high ranking on Google, that you're not going to go into a website that's going to be full of malware, or that's going to infect your computer, or is going to be listed with inappropriate material and things like that. So it's security and trust and relevance. The fact that when I go and search in Google, as we all do, that I want to make sure that the results that Google gives me are the most relevant for my search term, and they want to make sure of that too. So that's what's really important to get to grips with at the start, is that Google's business, entire business, is really an advertising platform. but it's built upon trust. The fact that they can keep people coming back into their website is why they were able to build their business so to the point where it is today, which is one of the largest corporations in the world. So that's what is really important here, and that's what you got to bear in mind when you go about building a website. You got to make sure that your website is trustworthy. You got to make sure that it's relevant to what you're offering, and you've got to make sure that it's secure and stable, and that Google can recognize all those things. Next on the list, then, we've got engagement. The engagement of the content within your website. It's so important that you create content that is going to entertain, is going to engage, and is going to keep people coming back. And what I mean by that really is that Google actually knows, and they can scan your website for the number of visits. They can see where people are visiting from in the world, in terms of coming onto your website. They can see how long people are spending on your website. They can see when people like content on your website, when they share it out online, when they comment on individual pages and posts and media within your website. And that ultimately is what basically builds what I always refer to as the credit rating within Google. It's very, very, very similar to a financial credit rating, where basically Google, when you start to build those things and Google sees that people are coming to your site, they're having potentially fun, or they're being entertained, or they're engaging with the content, that kind of ticks a box in Google's list that says this website is offering good content and it's relevant to people who are finding it, and therefore we're going to keep scanning the website, and maybe we're going to start recommending that people visit this website when they search for specific terms and phrases or topic areas and things like that. So engagement of content. When you go to create your content, you must ensure that it's engaging, it's entertaining, it's not reams and reams of just bland text that doesn't really engage with the reader, or get them to delve further, or to come back and back and back to your website again and again and again. So that's what's really important there. Then, of course, as we mentioned in the last video, mobile compatibility is super important these days. The fact that Google released almost 2 years ago that algorithm change whereby they started to say, if your website is not mobile compatible, we are not going to give you mobile search rankings. We're actually going to penalize you in mobile search. And that impacted an awful lot of people. So that's something that is more and more important, is that you keep on top of your website, make sure that it is fully mobile compatible. And that's why in the last lesson we dealt with the mobile friendly test, that you can go to Google at any stage and just run on any website around the world, and it will tell you whether that website passes their mobile friendly test. So that's important. The next thing that's important is the structure and accessibility of your website. If Google can't get into your website, can't scan and accurately identify whether your website is relevant, is secure, is engaging in its content, does have a lot of people visiting and so on, then they can't really recommend you to their usership. So that's why it's really important to ensure that the structure of your website is in place and the accessibility of your website is in place. Now, in the next lesson, what we'll deal with is the actual software for SEO that you're going to implement on your WordPress website to ensure that those things are ticked off the list as well. But specifically what I'm talking about are a structured sitemap for your website so that Google can actually scan every individual page, post, and media item within your database on the website. And also certain little technical things like the robots text file, which basically allows Google to scan and trawl your website, and that you've got an XML sitemap that Google can quickly scan the site and just see that everything is in place as it should be. So those are the things that ultimately Google really cares about. It's down to the relevance and security of your website. It's down to the engagement of the content within the website, the fact that they want to know that when they send somebody to your website, they're more likely to be entertained, to get valuable content out of it, and to get answers to the questions that they have entered into Google. Then we've also got the mobile factor as well, and then structure and accessibility. At its core, your website has to be trawlable by Google and the other search engines in order to ever even be considered in the rankings. So that's really important to get to grips with at the start, because every action you perform within your website or your online marketing strategy specific to search engine optimization has to be based upon these factors. Okay? Okay, so next on the list then, when I talk about content on your website, what exactly are we referring to? And this is basically it. And a lot of these things are of course the logical explanation, but I want to delve a little bit further into what makes good content, what ranks higher, what's more important, and so on as we go through these lessons. So first of all, you've got the written content on the pages of your website. And when I say pages of your website, what I mean by that are the kind of prime pages within your website. The home page, the about page, the services pages, the products pages, any other team members pages, biographies, things like that. The main pages that make up the menu system upon your website, those are pages within the site. And this is very specific to WordPress as well, in the way that the content management system is structured at the back end, the way it creates pages as prime level targets for Google to scan and for you to put good content within. We've also got written content for posts, and when I talk about posts, what I mean are your blog posts. So posts and pages are slightly different. Posts are, in terms of editing, exactly the same within the WordPress backend, but in terms of ranking, posts will not gain the same level of recognition as a page within your website. So pages are kind of first level ranking metrics, I guess, and posts are less important, but what they do is they build a bulk of content. So written content within posts, when you're writing your blog, the blog is a page within the website, but posts are what makes up the blog. And what happens is when you enter in your blog posts, individual posts of content within WordPress or any other blogging system, the blog categorizes those chronologically, and then the database within your website basically keeps an eye on what is the most popular posts and what are the most visited and the most read, the most engaged with, and things like that. So pages and posts are slightly distinct, but of course when you're editing in WordPress, they look identical. When you go in to create a new post or a new page, the format, the way it's presented, the editing software is exactly the same, but it's slightly different. When you go to create your website, pages are going to be the most important thing to start with, because they have that kind of higher level of ranking. And then posts are going to be brilliant for building your SEO over time, because you can create constant content. What Google sees when they see that you've got a blog and you're regularly adding to that blog is they see that you're interested in that website, you're interested in maintenance, you're interested in keeping it up to date and cutting edge with the newest information possible. And that is also important when Google looks at your website. Content, of course, is also made up of the imagery within your website. When you have a WordPress website specifically as well, you create a media library. So everything you add or upload onto your WordPress website is kept within the media library in this database of content. And that's why it's important that when you're creating content, when you're uploading images to your website, to your blog posts, to your pages, within your homepage or whatever it might be within your website, that you actually optimize the media as well as just the written content. That's very important as well, because that can bring traffic to your website as well. And that's why it's important to really build an overall picture of your website. You've got the written content on your pages and posts. You've got the visual content, and that visual content does need to be optimized. And of course, I'll show you how to do that in the next lesson. And then, of course, the last thing is you've got video. Video, especially in this day and age, is much more important in terms of rankings, but the reason for that is specifically that video is much more engaging as a media than written text or audio or imagery. Now, what we can do with video, which is great, is we can create fast content. So you can include in video a lot of content fairly quickly, and then you can go about optimizing that content. For instance, if you create a video like I'm creating now, and then we upload that to, for instance, YouTube. YouTube has all these different fields that you can fill in: the title of your video, the description of your video, the tags of your video, all those types of things. And when your videos, say for instance on YouTube or Vimeo or Wistia or any other video hosting platform, but specifically to YouTube, and you've got to remember as well that Google owns YouTube, so it's another ranking factor that you've got to factor in if you're thinking about where to host video. We'll deal with that sort of more in another lesson. But because Google owns YouTube, normally the recommendation would be if you're going to host video, you may as well host it on YouTube, because Google has started to, in the last couple of years as well, feed out YouTube videos within their search results. The other factor with video, of course, as well, is that you got to remember that with the emergence of 4G and then the sort of near future emergence of 5G connectivity when it comes to your mobile devices, it means the data is so much faster that any device really anywhere can handle video much more easily than they could in the past. And that's why people, when you go onto Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat or any of those things, you see these videos pop up everywhere. You know, it's just so easy to engage with content, to digest content via video. And that's why video is increasingly more important in SEO. And when it comes to the content on your website, that's why you've also got to optimize the video as well. Include the meta description, include the title, match that with a keyword on the page, use tags and so on, so that when people search, the system and Google specifically can recognize that the video that you've uploaded is relevant for the person that's just searched for this specific term. Okay, so that's what content is when it comes to how Google really views it. And why is content important? Well, we've dealt with a little bit of that in the last slide, but what I also want to mention is that it grows a bulk of relevant information on your site. There's a kind of a rule, I guess, that you could go by, which is the more content, the better. If you've got a lot of content on your website, it shows, again, that you're interested in creating new content for your website, that there is a bulk of useful and relevant information on your website, which is constantly growing. And that is something that Google always bears in mind when they go to recommend people visiting certain websites. Content's important also because it helps engage with your readership, your prospects, your clients. There's a rule when you're creating, for instance, a YouTube channel, and it's the same with any like social endeavor. You know, you're on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram or even your website and your blog. There is a rule that you've got to show that you are consistently creating content which is relevant and useful. And that's because Google wants to see that your website is up to date, is current, and is engaging the people that are landing on the website. And again, that's because it shows your interest in the website. It shows that you're constantly updating, that you are keen to keep it at the cutting edge, to keep it current. And why is all of this important? Well, ultimately, all of this helps grow your credit rating with Google and other search engines. And that's, you know, what we always have to come back to is when you build that trust with Google or YouTube. And again, I mean, you've got to bear in mind, YouTube is, I believe, the second largest search engine in the world after Google. And Google owns both. So, you know, you've got to factor in that when you build a credit rating with those entities and those businesses and those search engines, it's incredibly powerful in terms of the potential for organic or free traffic to reach your website. So that's why all of this is so important in the online marketing realm. Now, how do you actually optimize the content? Well, here's what we need to do, and this is what we're going to deal with in this lesson when I get to the practical element of it. First of all, you've got to identify your niche or your industry, which of course you're going to know. Say you're a restaurateur and you're going to open a new restaurant. Well, you know that you are opening a new restaurant in a certain area of town and you want people to come to that restaurant. So that's the first step. Next, you've got to think about all the keywords that people may search for within search engines, and importantly, the associated keywords with those main terms. You've got to think about them, then identify them, and then analyze them. And what I mean by that is you've got to pick keywords. So say, for instance, you are opening a Mexican restaurant in San Francisco. What you want to know is, what are the search terms that people search for in or near San Francisco specifically, or further afield, that are relevant to my new business? And what you want to do there is you want to identify some keywords. For instance, the ones that would come to mind would be Mexican restaurant in San Francisco, or Mexican restaurant in or near this stadium or that stadium, or this landmark or that landmark. And then what you want to do is you want to spread the network of what are the related search terms to that core search term that I just thought of, off the top of my head. And what you want to do there is you want to discover keywords and related or associated keywords which are high volume in terms of the search, so there's loads of people are searching for those things, but importantly, low competition. So high volume search, low competition is the ideal target market for you to pick out search terms and create content around those search terms. So we say here, you create content that attends to those, and also, number one, helps and engages readers or visitors to the website. So you've got to start with the keywords, branch out, get more keywords, and then start to create content related to those keywords, but create good content. Make sure it's engaging, it's fun, it's entertaining, or it's informative, so that people coming in to your new Mexican restaurant or visiting it online actually find the information they want. They're going to want to see the menus, they're going to want to know if they can book a table, and so on. Things like that that are relevant to your niche. Make sure that all those systems are in place on your website, because ultimately that will lead to higher engagement within your website. Also then finally, you've got to make sure that your website is available to be crawled. So that Google, as I've said before, in terms of the sitemap and the robots text file and things that we'll deal with in lesson 3, which are basically just checkmark items that the software will look after. But you've just got to make sure that your website is easily crawlable. When Google sends out its little spiders, as they're called, they go into websites and they look around the whole website, all the links and the media of the website, and they basically crawl it all, make sure it's secure and it's stable and it's safe and it's mobile friendly, and they look at the content, they look at the traffic, they look at the engagement of all that. But you have to set that up yourselves at the start. It's not like every website is easily crawlable, and that's where you've got to really attend to that. It could be that you've had a website and you've had no organic traffic to it to date, and the reason is simply that you haven't opened it up to Google and you haven't known about that yet. So that's why that's really important, and that's something we're going to deal with in lesson 3 specifically, to make sure your site is available to be crawled. Okay, so what are the big mistakes to avoid in this game? And we see this all the time. You know, clients come to us and they want to know why they've no organic traffic coming to the website. And these are a lot of the mistakes that people make, specifically when they go to optimize a website. What they do is they pick high competition keywords. I said in the last slide, you should pick high volume search, but low competition. That is the ideal combination to target a search term for. High competition keywords, you can have high volume all you want, but if that keyword is high competition as well as high volume, it's very, very difficult to get any traction for those keywords within the search engine. And that's why it's better to look at those search terms, but then maybe choose alternate search terms or associated search terms, which are high or medium search volume, but always low competition where possible. You've also got to make sure that you don't write or create content which doesn't make any sense. And that's what I was saying earlier about, you know, in the old days of SEO, people just used to stuff keywords into the bottom of their website. And the search engines, when they were a little bit less sophisticated, would just go into those into those websites and see that there were a load of keywords, and then they'd recommend those websites. Now they very quickly became smart to that and wise to that, and they changed their algorithms and updated and refined the process so that doesn't happen anymore. But keyword stuffing, some people still do it, you know, try and just pack as many keywords into content as possible, but ultimately that makes content that isn't legible, it isn't readable, it isn't engaging, and that's something that you've got to balance. You've got to look to include a lot of the keywords and the relevant terms, but you can't go stuffing them into content to the point where it doesn't actually make any sense. And again, that's something we'll look at when we look at the software element, because the software that we're going to use for SEO specific to WordPress actually tells you those things, so you can make sure you're not kind of making that big mistake. The other thing that you got to avoid doing, which has a potentially catastrophic effect on your SEO and your organic traffic, is going out there and just buying links. Outlinks and inbound links into your website are important. So if you can get a high ranking website, for instance, if we could get, I'm just thinking like Nike or the New York Times or anything like that, you know, big website, big brand, lots of traffic, high in the search engines already. those websites, big websites, have built their credit rating with Google and the other search engines already. Now, if they sent people to our website, that's a backlink, and that is recognized by Google. They look at that and they say, oh, Nike are sending traffic and links back to this website. Maybe we need to look at this website and see, because it seems to be relevant. It's like a higher authority sort of tick box on Google's checklist. So that's where it's really important. But the pitfall here is that you may, as a new business, get emails from companies looking to create backlinks. And what they'll say to you are things like, we will get 1,000 high ranking or high authority backlinks to your website in 15 days or something like that. Never ever go about doing that, because what you'll find is those companies are not using high authority websites to put the links into. They're not going to Nike or Mashable or New York Times or Adidas or any of those places. What they're doing is they're just getting you any old link to tick their box and earn them the money. And what that does is, it's not just a, oh, it doesn't work kind of thing. It actually can get you blacklisted by Google. So even if the rest of the things are in place on your website and you go and buy bad backlinks or bad links into your website, you can get blacklisted to the point where you immediately shoot out of all the rankings. And to rebuild from that position is very, very difficult, if not impossible. So where you're starting, if you launch a website today, you're basically at zero. And the idea is that you grow your website by creating good content, engaging content, applying all the principles that we're talking about in these lessons. And it goes from 0 to 10 to 20 to 50 to, and you build your ranking that way. If you get blacklisted by Google, you go below 0. You don't get any recognition whatsoever. So that's why that's really important, that you make sure you do not make that mistake. Okay, so what keywords to target? How do you actually go about thinking about those things? Well, if you are a Mexican restaurant in San Francisco, as I said earlier, you'll start out with some basic key terms, things that come to your mind. Well, people are going to be searching for Mexican restaurant near some landmark in San Francisco. What you want to do is make sure that what you're targeting in terms of keywords are things that people do actually search for, because otherwise there's no point. You can't go about guessing and just think, oh, people are going to search for this random term when they want my restaurant. That's not really the way to work it. Again, as I've said, you want low to, actually I've got this wrong here. You want high search volume. You do not want low to mid search volume. You want high search volume, low to mid competition, low competition. Okay, so let me just get that. That was a little typo in the slide there. High search volume is what you ideally want, balanced with low competition. High volume, low competition is the ideal to target. You also want to make sure it's relevant to your product or services. There's no point in picking keywords for an Italian restaurant if you're a Mexican restaurant. Okay. And you also want to pick keywords that you can create content with. Again, the content on your website has to make sense. It has to be legible. It has to be engaging and interesting to the visitors who genuinely are going to be interested in your website, in your business, and are going to find value in that. And of course, that's an obvious thing, but it's worth just bearing in mind as we move forward with this thing. Okay, guys, so into our first practical element of this lesson. Where do we start here? Well, what we're going to do first of all is we're going to go into Google Keyword Planner. I'm going to show you how to identify keywords and then identify the associated keywords. So you can start to identify what keywords are high volume search, low competition, or maybe mid, but not low volume search and high competition, because that's the big kind of shift where it just doesn't make any sense to target those keywords. So what I'm going to do now is just cut over. We're going to go into Google's Keyword Planner and we'll start researching keywords. Okay guys, so this is how you're going to find out about the keywords that you can target, the search volume and the competition. This is the best tool you can get really for it, and the good thing is it's free. It used to be that you could use this tool without having an AdWords account, I believe. But nowadays you need a Google AdWords account. So what you're going to have to do is go into Google AdWords. It's just adwords.google.com. Sign up for an account. You may need to add a credit card onto the account, but of course you don't have to pay anything unless you actually decide to run a campaign or anything like that. But we're not going to get to that level just yet. What we want to do is really just focus in on this keyword issue. So this is actually an old account of mine from when I was running some campaigns back in the UK a number of years ago. So it's not in use, and the cost of bids and things like that is in pound sterling. So just ignore all that. Your navigation, your dashboard should be exactly the same as what you see here. And what I want you to do is just go along the top to Tools and drop down to Keyword Planner. That's going to load the keyword element, and then you decide whether you want to search for new keywords, look at search volume, multiply keyword lists to get new keywords. So actually I haven't looked in that. All right, no, that's okay. So we're just going to go into search for new keywords using a phrase, website, or category. So say, for instance, we use the example I used in the earlier part of this lesson about, say you're a Mexican restaurant in San Francisco. Your product or service. Okay, we're going to enter Mexican restaurant. Landing page could be anything really. I'll just put in our website. Category then, dining and nightlife, restaurants, dine-in restaurants. This could be anything, okay? Of course, this is just an example. So depending on your industry and niche, your breakdown is going to be vastly different, but I just want to show you through the process of how to do it all. Okay, you can choose where you want to target it. So for instance, the fact that we're thinking of Mexican restaurant in San Francisco, we're probably, it could be a worldwide thing. You could add in different countries and so on, or different cities, but we'll keep it as just the United States for now. Languages, again, you can choose maybe if you wanted Spanish and so on, you put it in there. Negative keywords, Google, keyword filters, keyword options. So show broadly related ideas, blah, blah, blah. That's all fine. Show average monthly searches for the last 12 months. Of course, you would like the most current data, so you're probably going to keep it within a 12-month range. And then I will click Get Ideas. So it'll take a little while to scan its system. And this readout is pretty much what people are actually searching for related to our kind of core search term of Mexican restaurant. So there's things, of course, you got to imagine that a restaurant is very much something that people will search a near me suffix to. So it's going to be Mexican restaurant near me, local Mexican restaurant, etc. Things like that. And depending on your industry and niche, again, that may not be or may be more or less relevant. So you see some of those there. What I want to do actually is just refine our product or service. So we'll just say Mexican restaurant, San Fran. Oh, it's not right. Spell it right. And then modify search. Get ideas. And then it'll rescan everything and bring up things that are a little bit more relevant, because anybody say we're in San Francisco, we're a Mexican restaurant, people are either going to be in San Francisco, in which case they're going to be searching Mexican restaurants near me, or else they're going to be maybe choosing to vacation in San Francisco, so they're going to be thinking ahead and planning ahead, and they're going to say Mexican food, San Francisco. That's what they're going to enter approximately into the search engines. So you see here, average monthly searches for all ideas is 1 million to 10 million. And as we look down, then we can start to see, you can actually customize this by using the columns. So say we just take out certain things that we don't need. We don't even need suggested bid, really. Those are just if you're actually running an advertising campaign, it'll tell you how much you need to bid on that specific keyword. So right now we're predominantly focused in on searches, the search volume, like we were talking about earlier, and the competition. And again, the ideal is going to be high search volume, low competition. It doesn't always work out that way depending on your industry, your niche, and so on. You just have to figure it out. That's the ideal. If you have medium search volume and medium competition, it can still be worth targeting some of those search terms. Okay, so we've refined that. As we look down, then we get Mexican food San Francisco. We get 100 to 1,000 searches per month, low competition. Best Mexican food in San Francisco, 1 to 1,000, low competition. Best Mexican San Francisco. And as you see, it goes down, and there's all sorts of related keywords to that term. And the idea is, there's no point technically in maybe looking at let's pick one here. There you go, Mexican restaurants in San Francisco, CA, has 10 to 100 searches per month, but low competition. Look at this here, you get just restaurants is 1 million to 10 million, so that's an overall thing. If somebody is near San Francisco and they search for restaurants, you might come up in the mix. But of course, people are generally going to be searching for things like best restaurants or specific food types: Italian, Mexican, Chinese, American diner type, that type of thing is going to be what they search for. So what you want to do here is really identify just a few keywords, and what you can do is copy them over or download them, the different ideas. But say we picked out something like, best Mexican Mexican restaurants in San Francisco. It's only 100 to 1,000 searches per month, but that's a geographic focus, because people are only searching for San Francisco if they're actually going to be in San Francisco or they're in San Francisco right now. So that again may be something worth targeting. Mexican restaurants in San Francisco. Again, the key here is that it's low competition. I've actually filtered these. You can click competition and it'll restructure. Oh, it's gone and crashed. It'll restructure based upon high, low competition and so on. We'll just research that. But that's basically what you want to look for. And you want to go into your niche and you think about the automatic term that might come to you. Could be best SEO companies, could be Mexican restaurants in San Francisco, it could be architects near New York City, whatever it might be. Have a think about what it is that comes to mind. Go to the keyword planner, pop your keyword into the planner, and then just hit get ideas, and it'll give you that readout of the average monthly searches, the competition, and then you can go ahead and either add to plan and kind of plan out these keywords, or just take a manual note, copy it over into an Excel file or something like that to keep basically keep tabs on the keywords that you want to now target. Once you have those keywords and you know that you've picked a list of 10, 15, 20, 100 keywords, whatever it might be, now you can go about using those keywords in your content. You can start optimizing the images, the videos, the written content, and creating stories and engaging written visual and video content around those keywords, so that the keywords are mentioned regularly but not overly so. And again, a lot of this stuff the software is going to deal with for you. It'll tell you if you're stuffing too many keywords in or if you're not putting it in enough. It'll tell you if the keyword makes sense or not. Again, things like that. The legibility score is important. All those factors the software is going to take care of, and we'll deal with that in the next lesson. But this is really just so that you can actually get some more ideas about keywords and get real figures as to how many searches are actually going on. What is the competition like? Am I actually going to be wasting my time in terms of targeting this keyword or that keyword? Or what specific keyword variation or key phrase can we actually focus in on and start creating content around? So that's basically how to do it. And that Google Keyword Planner is pretty much the best tool for that. So look guys, hopefully that was of help. I'm sure you'll probably have questions, so please do let me know as you watch through the video. Let me know below just what your queries are, and I'll do my best to help you out. Google in general is such a huge system between AdWords, AdSense, analytics. It's such a huge system that it's a bit of a nightmare to navigate. But if you know where you're going and what your focus is in terms of research, for instance, keywords in this instance, then it's a little bit simpler. So let me know if you have any questions at any stage, as always, and hopefully that was of help in just showing you how you can start putting together some ideas for your content. We'll hop back into the lesson now, okay? Hey guys, and welcome back. So we dealt with there basically the functional way of going about actually getting an idea of the keywords that are relevant to your business, what the search volume and the competition for those is in any given month, and that gives you a lot of powerful information with which to create new content for your website now. But what you also have to bear in mind is once you've done that little bit of research, it's something that you can revisit over and over again in future. And in the same way that we did the baseline for the website using WooRank and so on, it's something that you should be revisiting periodically. It could be every month, it could be every quarter, every year, whatever it may be. But all these tools online are brilliant for giving you that baseline or giving you the initial spark of ideas. And then you can go about creating content and basically populating the website with it. So now I want to deal with the rules for long-term success. These are pretty broad-reaching, but incredibly important in terms of how you go about actually systematically optimizing your website from the ground up. So related to what we've discussed in this lesson, what you need to do is identify a range of keywords. It's not just one keyword. There's no point in picking a single keyword like Mexican restaurants in San Francisco and optimizing your entire site solely for that. You've got to look at that variety and the associated keywords that I just showed you in Google, and think about different terms of phrase and what people may be searching for, and run multiple scans. We just did one in the last section of the video, but what you can do is you can run multiple variants of all sorts of different searches that you think people may be searching for when they're looking for a business like yours or a product or a service like yours. So identify a full range of keywords. Don't just limit it to one. Don't stress too much about them, right? I mean, don't get head up about keywords. This is a good way to optimize your content and optimize an element of your website, but it's not going to make or break to any massive degree long term. Long term, it's very much more about engagement, consistency, accessibility, and making sure you apply and abide by all of Google's multiple multiple rules as you go. So that's what's going to really make or break the website in terms of longevity and long-term success regarding SEO. Keywords are important. You should be optimizing them. You should be going through this process that I'm showing you. But don't get too focused in on it has to all be about keywords, because ultimately once you build the website, the keyword thing, once you've built that credit history with Google, the keyword thing will be much easier for you to manage, but also a little bit less important related to Google and the way they rank your website. You just got to start curating and creating content as well. And like I said earlier in the lesson, technically speaking, the more the better is very much the rule of thumb with this thing. A 4-page website which has 2,000 words and 15 images is not going to have the real bulk and the oomph when it comes to ranking potential as a 30-page, 300 blog post, 1,000 image and 50 video type website, because that's just it's about creating a library of content. Now that's also why WordPress is such an excellent way to do this, because by its nature it's a blogging platform, so you've got the post element sorted. It's very easy to embed video, so you can host videos on YouTube, embed them in your website. It's very easy to edit content. It's very easy now in the next lesson, which is what I'll show you. It's very easy to get the SEO software and actually apply it to all your content throughout the website. And as you grow your website with WordPress, everything gets held within the database, so you never lose anything. You don't have to start from scratch. You don't have to wipe out any content that you've created unless you really want to. But it's all kept within the database, which is incredibly important because you can start really building a substantial website in that way. I would suggest also getting some paid traffic into your website. Part of what Google will rank upon once you have your website set and you've optimized the content and you've researched the keywords and you've put it out there and you know that your content's going to be engaging for people coming into it, the easiest way to prove that to Google is to start getting some content into your site, and the easiest way to do that is to pay for it. So you go into Facebook, Google, Instagram, YouTube, and you basically run ads campaigns. Could be LinkedIn or any of those platforms. They all run them these days, but you need to start getting some traffic. So the easiest way to do it is to go in, run some ads campaigns. You'll see in my other videos as well, I'll show you how to do all that for each of the individual platforms. But to get that instant traffic, it comes to the website, then those people can start interacting with the website. And if you've optimized it and it's engaging, those people will share it and comment on it and like different elements of it and spend time on it. And Google can pick up on all that. And that's what's really important, is to start getting traffic, even if it is paid, because long term you want to get all that free organic traffic because your website is optimized in every regard. And keep adapting and creating. So again, like I've said earlier, keep going back and researching, look at new keyword variants, track the analytics within your website, continue to create and curate multiple forms of content, written, visual, video, audio, optimize it all, and then you can't go wrong. And then always refer back to analytics. Make sure you get Google Analytics installed on your website. It's a very simple task. A programmer could do it within maybe 20 minutes to an hour, just depends on your website. But it's a very simple thing, and you've got to have it in place, because you can always look back at your analytics and be able to see, we launched with nothing. We paid for 300 visitors in this month, and then our organic search was 0. But now, once we've optimized it, we can see over a 3-month, 4-month period, organic search is on the rise. We're not getting 300 visitors through organic search. We've also got 300 visitors through paid advertising, and it's starting to pick up steam. And you can always use those baselines, which are incredibly important, to refine your processes, to improve upon them, and ultimately gain more success and more traction as you go. And that's always going to be the way it is. You're not going to have instant success with online marketing, much in the same way you won't have instant success with most things in life. You do need to practice, you need to refine, you need to put time in, and you need to think about it strategically and really go for it that way. But analytics is incredibly important within this whole thing. It's one of the pillars, as I call them, of online marketing. Okay guys, so that's the end of lesson 2. So what I want to do is just cover where we are now, what we've covered. Remember at all times, this is for your base level of optimization of your website. So all the approaches that I'm showing you really do need to be in place for it to all work together in the future. We've dealt with performance, speed and efficiency. We went to WooRank. We did the practical exercise there where you scan your website. That's ticked off the list. We did the mobile compatibility Google mobile friendly test within that first lesson as well. And then in this lesson, in the next lesson, what we're going to deal with is the structure and accessibility of your website, and then the actual optimization of content within your website. And that's where I'm going to show you the Yoast SEO plugin, how to install it, how to optimize it, and then how to delve into your pages and posts and media and optimize those in the same way. And then in this lesson, we've just finished the content and engagement kind of protocols, written, visual, video. You now know how to go and research keywords. You know how to think about keywords, how to create keywords, the important things and methods in when you pick a keyword. How do you apply that to content? Things like you've got to make sure it's legible, it makes sense, it's engaging for your visitors to your website. And we did that through the Google and the keyword planner within Google. I'm also going to show you elements of that, of course, within Yoast, so you can actually see how to optimize that content as well in part 3. But for now, guys, that's part 2 over with. Thank you for staying with it. I hope it's all been worth it. There's a lot of good stuff you can start working with now, so go do your keyword research and so on. Please let me know if you have any questions or you get stuck at any stage. I'm here to help. And in the meantime, I do hope it was of help. Thanks for your time and watching the video. Make sure you share it out, like it, comment on it, subscribe to the channel if you want to be kept in the loop when I release new free training. And meantime, guys, have an awesome day. I'll catch you guys soon.